Hey guys, I want to talk to you today about your plants and what kind of progress you're seeing. So as you can see, I've already taken my root viewers off to check on them, and I'll be taping them back so they're nice and snug after I'm done with this video. But on the left, the white plant on my left is mine that I planted last time, and the one on the right is my daughter Kenzie's. Both planted at about the same time. And I've drawn a diagram up there showing the parts that we're going to see today. We're going to see young leaves beginning to develop chlorophyll and therefore turning green instead of white like they were as embryos. Some of the plants are going to have a little shrivelly bean looking thing on the stem. That's the cotyledon, that part of the bean seed that feeds the baby plant until it begins to do photosynthesis, still hanging out on there. And of course, there's a stem, which I know that we all recognize. For beans, that stem is a viney, a more flexible stem as opposed to a woody stem of like a bush or a tree. And then the roots going below the surface, which we usually can't see on plants outside, but we're doing this root viewer kind of thing so that we can see that on our plants. And so I'm going to check these out. And I've already removed the cover to make it easy. What you guys might be finding is right below the surface where you put that lima bean, it's still not sprouting up above the ground, but you can see a lot of root action beginning there. And the same is true. We'll just kind of go seed for seed. With mine, there's a lot happening under the surface. You can see those roots beginning to come out. The germination process is beginning, but it seems to be a little bit slower for that larger seed, which I think is interesting. And you can see the soil being disrupted above this one as the bean itself kind of swells and soaks up water and starts to germinate and sprout. So those are the limas. And in my case, they're not popping above the surface yet. Yours might be. The next is the chickpea. And you can tell your chickpea, for both of mine, I do see roots coming down from it, from a germination process starting. And this one I can see the chickpea there, and wow, look at that root system. Nice strong taproot there and little roots coming off of it. But you can tell it also because it has this nice, I have a hard time sort of focusing on it. Fringy kind of leaf. The leaves are shaped a little bit differently, and you'll notice that the stem feels a little different too. It's kind of fuzzy or spiky, almost like a little hairy stem there, the chickpeas, and mine still have kind of a yellowish greenish tint. The chickpea itself seems to stay below the surface in most cases. I would love to see if any of yours are growing differently. Typically, I don't see the chickpea cotyledon coming up on the stem like in the diagram and like on the mung bean. I'd be interested in you guys' thoughts on that. So here's the mung bean. Nice tall stem, nice. The leaves are really starting to grow larger and develop more greenish pigment, that chlorophyll being produced by the plant and soaking up the sunlight. But it's still soaking up a little bit of energy from that cotyledon, that leftover food on the stem as well. And I've moved these around a lot, but while they are growing, they've been growing towards the sunlight. And you've probably noticed something similar with yours as well. So to compare these guys with my diagram here, you can see the roots below the surface. You can see that stem, that viney bean stem, growing up and then bending towards the light. For some of them, there's still cotyledon. There's still a little bean hanging out on there, and you can watch those shrivel as the plant uses the energy, the food from them, to grow larger. And then the young leaves, they'll get wider and greener as they begin to be the primary, that means the main source of energy making for the plant. And so the last thing I'm going to do is wrap these guys back up, and then I'll tape them. Can't do that one-handed while I'm taping, and you guys probably are not going to be interested in it anyway, and set them back in their same spot. What I'd like for you guys to do today in your journals is to write and draw a little bit in your life cycle journal about what you noticed. How does a plant look different today than it did the last week when we observed them? Very different, right? Last week we were just planting seeds in the soil, and now we have plants. So try to get those names for the different parts labeled on your plant. So that you'll remember what they are and how they looked this week. And I'm interested if next week we'll have all these same parts. Maybe some won't be there anymore. Maybe some will be different. Maybe there'll be some new parts. Who knows? I can't wait to see how they change. Happy exploring, botanists, plant scientists. I'll see you next week.